Hey everyone, welcome to Coffee and Conversation for ESL Listening. I'm Danielle.
And I'm Christina. So grab a cup and join a conversation.
Hey, so hello, how are you, Christina?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm great, and I'm looking forward to this fantastic conversation we're going to hear about our famous favorite topic.
Yes. Yes, it's the best topic and kind of like you can talk about this to anyone and then by the end you just become best friends.
Absolutely. So, of course, we are talking about food. And quite honestly, I can't believe we waited till episode 8 to even talk about food. It seems wrong
Yeah.
somehow.
Yeah, I mean, I thought like our first episode was about drinks and coffee and all that. And I was like, okay, so next one probably we'll talk about food. And then we just kind of kept going. And I'm like, okay, there's
Mix
still
it up, you know?
food.
Yeah.
Yeah, it worked.
But definitely, you knew we had to get there. But
Yes.
it is a big topic. Lots of things we can talk about. So we're not going to keep you all here all day long. So today we are going to talk about breakfast.
Yum.
Yes. And, they say breakfast is the most important meal of the day. I don't know how true that is, but I know that it's my favorite meal of the day. I could literally eat breakfast for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yes,
So,
I agree. Oh yeah. Well, in my culture, they have a saying that you keep breakfast to yourself, you share your lunch with your friend, and you give away your dinner to your enemy.
oh,
So
what
it
does
seems
this
like
mean?
like they say that you're supposed to have the most for breakfast, like most food,
Okay.
smaller lunch, and then really, really light dinner.
Okay. Well, that's
Which is,
interesting.
yeah, quite opposite to how the United States food
You
planning
know,
works.
that is true. We definitely, I kind of feel like we eat pretty hearty all three meals. So, getting ready for this today, I actually spoke to several of my other students from all around the world. We'll talk more about that later. But after I got information from them about what their breakfasts are like, I realized that, man, we eat too much.
Well, I think that's kind of a
I guess we
idea
knew that.
about the United States everywhere in the
Yeah.
world.
Yeah. Well, like we talked before in one of our earlier conversations about the serving sizes and things like that. So, yeah, there is a theme of way too much food going on. But I got to say, though, do love me a good spread for breakfast, like a buffet brunch. Oh, brunch, even better. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Um,
Sometimes when my friends and I will go to a restaurant, we'll have, like, say, I'll order an omelet,
mhm.
and I think we've done this before too. And then,
Yeah.
like, you order like pancakes or French toast or something like that, and then we split it so we get
Mhm.
some savory, we get some sweet, and then of course coffee.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah, we did last time we went out to breakfast last
Yeah,
year.
yeah.
We did that. I think we had like French toast and then omelet, and
Mhm.
kind of we
That's
asked
my
for
favorite.
extra plate to
Right.
split it up. But do you know what the breakfast itself like? Where does that come from? Like the word breakfast.
Well, we've got right in the word breakfast, it's break fast.
Right.
So
From
our
the night.
fast from the night that we haven't been
Mhm.
eating.
Right.
And so we have our first meal to break that fast, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I think there are other languages that do something similar with that kind of thing. But
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
Makes sense. Makes sense. Yeah.
yeah. So, well, let's talk a little bit about what we like to eat for breakfast. And I don't know, maybe it's changed for you over the years because I know sometimes when you grow up with a certain thing and then maybe you move away, you get older, you start, you know, picking
Liking
up other
different.
habits. So
Right.
maybe it's changed for you. So that'll be interesting to know. So let's start with you. What was breakfast like for you, when you were growing up?
Growing up. Well, it was only always home cooked breakfast. My mom always cooked breakfast for us, and we would never
Cool.
leave the house without having breakfast. So that was one of those things that you could not leave the house, either go to school or anywhere else without having something to eat in the morning.
Good
A
rule.
lot of most of the times, breakfast for us was eggs, either fried or boiled. Um, but sometimes, well, here's the interesting thing. Sometimes breakfast for us was kind of like a leftover from the night before.
Oh, okay.
Or one of the memories that sticks out in my mind, I still remember that when we were really little, my brother and I, my father would fix us this breakfast. He would take like a day old bread, but it would have to be like kind of like brioche bread, right? Eggy bread.
Okay.
And he would kind of rip it into pieces and put a little sugar in it and then put warm milk over it. And would
Oh,
just let it sit, like soak up a little bit, and we would eat that. And I just
nice.
remember as kids, we loved that. A lot of times it's some sort of a porridge, like semolina porridge, oatmeal. I remember that. But one of my all time favorite Ukrainian breakfasts is cheese pancakes.
Oh, heck yes.
And it's kind of a staple in Ukraine for breakfast. They are like pancakes. They're a little thicker, but they're made out of farmer's cheese.
Oh,
It's a little bit different type of cheese. It's drier than ricotta or cottage cheese, but
uh-huh.
it's still it's I don't know how to describe it, but it's kind of creamy, but it's not cream cheese because it still has little curds in it.
Yeah. I've seen, is it a
So
little bit salty?
could be, well, it could be, but not doesn't necessarily
Okay.
have to be.
Okay.
So we make the pancakes with that, like you put eggs and flour and stuff, and you make these kind of a little thicker pancakes, and you drench
Ooh.
them in flour, and then you fry them. So they're like a little crisp. They have that crispy skin on,
Oh, you're
but
killing
then
me.
they're just soft and fluffy and gooey on the inside. And then you would pour some like homemade jam or some sort of a fruit sauce on top of it.
Oh, okay. I will be expecting that in a couple of weeks when I'm at your house.
I might have to
Just
make it
kidding.
because I haven't made them in a while, so I miss it.
I'm just kidding.
So the
It
other
sounds
one
amazing
is
though.
we have a lot like a lot of stuff we make with cheese, that farmer's cheese. The other one is called nalesniki, which is kind of like French crepes,
Okay.
but they're also sweet and they have that cheese filling, but the farmer's cheese sweet filling and also like fruit and all stuff over it. But so the savory one, besides eggs, in western part of Ukraine, we eat a lot of like a cornmeal porridge. It's kind of like grits in the United States, but it's thicker and it's buttery. And it's
Okay,
usually
yeah, we're
made
gonna
with
talk about
yellow
grits.
corn. Oh yeah. So we make that porridge, and like I said, it's not. Sometimes grits are kind of they're not as thick, right? And this one is a little thicker, and so you have like a little bit of that porridge, and then you put a little more butter, and sometimes you can put like a fried egg with the runny yolk on it,
Mm.
or you put it's kind of like a feta cheese, so it's very salty. So you sprinkle that, or you put sour cream on top of it.
Oh, sour cream.
Or sometimes people put like little bacon bits. It just depends who prefers what, but that's one of those hearty breakfasts that we would do on weekends when there's more time, or when guests come over. Like I remember my
Oh, yeah.
mom fixing that. So, but other than that, it's very, a lot of it is similar to like pastries or bread and butter, and stuff like that, or
Yeah.
different sausages and different, kind of bacon and all that.
Right. Yeah,
Now I'm
bacon is so
hungry. Thank you
familiar
so
here.
much.
Yeah, bacon is the I don't know if we had a national food, that would have to be it because people got some kind of obsession about bacon here. It's kind of crazy.
So, what is your favorite breakfast?
I thought about this and it was a little bit difficult to choose something. It's kind of like when I go to the restaurant and I'm like, okay, what am I going to order? Well, I want something sweet. I want something savory. I kind of want it all, like a little bite of here, this and that. So I have several favorites, but I definitely love pancakes. Love, love, love
Remember
pancakes.
that about you, that you
Yes,
love pancakes. And
I do. I'm a little bit picky though. I like good pancakes. Sometimes when you get them in restaurants, they're a little bit dry and they don't really have the good flavor. So
right.
homemade are the best. French toast, another
Oh, yeah.
sweet item. Sometimes you stuff it with some cream cheese and then
Mm-hmm.
put some kind of fruit um, sauce or something on top of it.
Yeah.
Really delicious.
Whipped cream.
Um, Whipped cream, yes, of course. But also like omelets and things like that. And then there are a couple of Mexican breakfast dishes that I really like. There's something called chilaquiles. I think you've probably had that. That restaurant
Yeah.
we used to go to all the time, right? Yeah, well, that was good.
Oh,
It's like
yes.
tortillas that are fried, and it's got like a tomato, spicy, oniony sauce,
Mm-hmm.
and then like an egg on top of it. That's really good.
So good.
So
Ah,
yeah, I made a mistake. I did not eat before we did this, so of course my stomach is going to be growling. Let's
it'll
hope the
be close to
microphone doesn't
dinner.
pick it up.
It'll be close to dinner time, hopefully soon. So,
Yeah, yeah.
well, the thing is that breakfast, it's just such, I mean, it's just such a wide variety of things when you
Yeah.
think of it. There's just so many dishes, so many different ways of, and you can make it as rich and complicated as possible or as simple
Yeah.
with the breakfast. You can just have, sometimes or people like to have just a piece of toast with the jam on it for
Yeah.
breakfast.
And it probably matters too, because we don't always have time to be whipping up pancakes and omelets and stuff every day. So that's sort of a weekend thing, I think.
Mhm.
Um, I typically have almost the same thing every single day of the work week. It's pretty sad, but I
What
like
is
it.
it?
So whatever. It's English muffin toasted, cinnamon raisin English muffin. And you know how Americans, we love our peanut butter. So, yes, with some peanut butter and jam on it. And I have that with some coffee, and
Yeah.
I'm good to go for, a few hours anyway.
I well, I'm kind of the opposite. I like to have different things for breakfast
I do
every day.
too, but sometimes it's too much work. I just want to, I work from home, you know how it is. And so I'm like, "Ugh, I don't want to stop what I'm doing and go try to figure out something to
Yeah.
eat something fast."
But you mentioned peanut butter. So waffles, right? One of the breakfast
Oh,
foods that's
yes.
quite popular in the United States. I think other countries too, and most of the time people here eat waffles either with syrup or like a fruit sauce or some sort of fruit on
Right.
top and whipped cream. Well, when first time I tried waffles, I tried it with peanut butter,
Ooh.
and like you put a little bit of peanut butter on top of waffle and then a little bit of syrup. And this is the only way I love my waffles.
No, I did not need this information because that sounds really delicious, and now I'm gonna wanna try that.
Because it's a little salty, but then sweet, and then that waffle and oh, it's
I love the
just the
sweet and
best.
salty thing together. I really
The
love that.
combination, yeah. So good.
Ooh,
It's
peanut
just the
butter.
best. And
Oh,
it
yeah.
doesn't get soggy. You know how sometimes waffle with all of that syrup
Yes.
and all of that stuff gets soggy? Well, peanut butter helps with that. It kind of keeps that
Good thought, yeah.
keeps
You know
your
what I
boat
do?
going.
Like, when I have a waffle and you know how it's round and it's got, like, 4
That
pieces
thing.
of it?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Right, so I'll butter 1/4 of it and put a little bit of syrup on just that corner, and then I eat that, and then I go to the next corner. Or sometimes I'll just dip it into the syrup because I don't want it to lose that crispiness.
Right. Right. And you know how
Yeah.
waffles are perfect for that? They have those little pockets there, so you can like put a little
Yes.
syrup and peanut butter in it. And oh, oh my
Oh,
gosh!
man, now something I've gotta try. Darn it.
So as we're talking through this, we probably yeah, I'm kind of mentally making the menu for us when you're here.
Right.
Pancakes one day, waffles next day.
Oh, man. I'm gonna get
Pancakes
fed
for
good.
breakfast, waffles for lunch.
Like I said, I can eat breakfast for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I absolutely love breakfast. So
Well,
yeah,
I think that's kind of a lot of people are in feel the same way because there's so many restaurants in the United States that offer
yeah,
breakfast 24 hours a day. Because I think a lot
yes,
of people
love
like to have
those.
breakfast, yeah, anytime.
Yeah, I hate
Yeah.
it when I go to a restaurant and they're like, "Oh, breakfast is served till 11 a.m." and I'm like, "No."
Close them down.
Yeah.
But it's well. What about things like different types of like pastries or kind of like a bread things? Do you like those for
Oh
breakfast
yeah.
too? Or?
Well, I do love me some carbs. Okay. So pastries, cinnamon rolls, uh, any a toasted pecan roll.
Oh
You
my
slice it
gosh.
in thirds and toast it and put some butter on it. Oh, delicious. Yeah.
I do
So
like a
yes.
good like cinnamon roll. Although I notice sometimes with the cinnamon roll, depending on how much of the icing they put, it becomes too sweet for me personally.
Yeah.
But I
Well,
do like a good soft, gooey, cinnamony,
mhm.
like
Yeah. It's true. We do tend to have things overly sweet here, like our cakes and stuff like that. I don't
mm,
even like all that frosting and stuff. I
sometimes
scrape
it's
it off
too much.
quite often. It's too much,
Yeah,
yeah. I don't
too
really
much.
understand it. I mean, I like the flavor, but you don't need to have an inch of frosting on a piece of cake. I
Mm,
mean, come on, guys.
yeah, that's true. Well, I do also like like a good croissant
Oh,
with a little
yes.
jam or turnovers or oh my gosh, completely forgot the word for it. Like a little danishes
Oh, yes. The
with the fruit on the
cheese. Oh,
inside. Oh, the cheese. Yes. Oh, so good. Or, a bagel,
oh, yes. I love bagels, but
a little cream
good
cheese on it.
bagels.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's a challenge to find a good bagel.
I know. Well, but what about the old time staple of the breakfast? A
Cereal?
donut.
Oh, donut? Oh, I don't love donuts in general. I don't. Yeah. There are some that I like, okay, but again, often it's too sweet. And that's what I don't like about
Mhm,
it. But if it's a donut that, has like a
a little.
thin layer of glaze or something that it's not crazy, then yeah.
Well, I would have to take you to a donut place here to see if
Is it
you
something new
change your
that I don't?
mind.
Oh, okay. All right.
Maybe you'll change your mind about it because I feel
Yeah,
like
I
they
mean,
have really good donuts there.
I'm not gonna say that I hate donuts or that because I like stuff, but it's just not one of my favorite things unless it's
Right,
done really well. You know,
right, right.
definitely. But the
Yeah.
bagels, oh my gosh, I would just, uh, I would just love to have a good deli here where I can get a bagel.
So,
Mm,
fun fact, you know where I tried my very first bagel?
I do
Yes,
not. Um,
the the place for the bagel in the United States, New
oh, New
York.
York.
Yep.
Did you? I've never been to New York, and literally, I am such a weirdo that I always say I want to go to New York, and what do I want to do? Top of my list, get a freaking bagel. I
Bagel.
mean, come on. I know. How crazy?
Oh, it was so worth it. I mean, I remember I stayed there with my extended family, and one morning, my aunt had breakfast, and she just had like cold cuts, but she also had cream cheese and some other schmear, as they call it,
Yes.
and then she had bagels. And at first, I was like, "Oh, what is it?" I mean, it's interesting. I don't think I've ever tried this before, but it's a type of bread, kind of like a thingy.
You
And she
can't go
goes like,
wrong.
"Oh, right." She's like, "It's called bagels and this and that." And oh my gosh, it was so good. And now everybody
Every
talks
other
about it.
bagel has ruined it. This has ruined it for every other bagel out there for you. I know. When you first have one and it's delicious, the bar is set so high
So high.
that,
But that's okay. I mean, I still love bagels even from, just a regular chain places and
Okay.
stuff. But
Yeah.
can't do it in New York
What
every time I want a bagel, unfortunately.
you can't do that. Yeah. Well, when I lived in Chicago, I used to live near Delhi, and it
Mhm.
was an old-timey place. It had been there since, I don't know, like the 50s, or like, I mean, crazy long time, and it looked like it hadn't been decorated since then either. They ultimately closed, which was really that was really a shame. But they had amazing bagels. I mean, just amazing. And I think I shed a tear when they closed.
Darn it. Well, darn
Okay,
it.
bagels. Okay, what else is that? And there's so many other breakfast things, but we wanted to talk about a little bit of regional things because you mentioned grits. And
Yes.
I don't think that a lot of people
Know
do.
what
I
that is.
think that a lot of people may not know what grits are. And it's basically, I guess you could say, if you know what polenta is, ground corn, it can be either white or yellow. I think typically the white is a little bit more common. Very common staple in the South.
Mhm.
Um, I really, most people I know, if you can even get them in the North, it's unusual. But most people either don't like them or you just can't get them there. At least that's
Oh,
what I found. But I love grits.
I do
And
too.
basically, you like them too? Yeah. Well, it's like a porridge, like you were saying. And I guess we should say what a porridge is too. It's sort of like a cooked, any kind of grain, whatever it might be,
Yeah,
and you put
that's a
some
good way to describe it.
syrup or butter or something in there. Yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's just delicious, but they have to be, again, cooked right. You know, sometimes it can be a little bit watery, which is not that good. You really want them to be thick.
And
So you can put
yeah.
that butter in there and have them with eggs and biscuit.
Oh my
Ah,
gosh.
yeah.
That's another
That's another thing. And
staple.
another thing to explain because, and I think this is a really interesting topic too. I would like to figure out a way to get into this one day. But there are so many words, English words, that exist in England, UK, and the United States. It's the same word but means something completely different in different places. So in the UK, a biscuit would be what we would call a cookie,
Oh,
something
cookie.
sweet. Yeah,
Well,
I'm not talking about that kind of biscuit. I'm talking about a southern biscuit, which is like a cakey kind of
kind of,
bread.
yeah, flaky, buttery,
Buttery, yes,
soft.
buttery, soft. Yes, and can put some more butter on it and eat it with your eggs or something, or
I
put
would say,
gravy on it too.
right. I would say if we to compare that to like the UK equivalent of it, I would say scone. Like their plain scone is kind of a similar to biscuit
Could
here.
be, yeah, yeah, but the way they would eat that would be very different though,
Right.
and this is a little bit softer, but yeah, we would eat this, definitely in a more savory no, not necessarily, sometimes people put jam on them too.
Yeah.
So
Butter
yeah,
and
you could make
jam
it.
or yeah.
Oh, but they're so good, again, when they're homemade and fresh.
Mhm.
Amazing.
And I mean gravy. There's another
I
thing.
hear the angels.
I mean, we do like our breakfast.
We
We
do.
really
We
do.
absolutely do. I think everybody's convinced. Yes. Yay for
Oh,
breakfast.
yum. So good. So good. You
Okay. Oh,
know,
and there's one other thing. Oh, I'm sorry. There's one other thing that I wanted to say about
yeah.
the local sort of thing. They have it everywhere now, but definitely some regions more than others. Is another interesting thing. Chicken and waffles as a combination. I don't eat meat, so I can't, say if this is good or not, but people love it.
I have never tried it.
No? Okay. Well, you're going to have to
No,
try
I
it and
have
let me
not.
know.
But I would, yes, it is interesting every time I hear, about chicken and waffles and it would be interesting to try.
It actually, I mean, if I ate meat, which I don't,
Right.
it makes sense to me because, like we said, the sweet and the savory, I could see eating those chicken and waffles with some syrup, I could totally see that, but
Even the
I'll
chicken.
never know.
I have seen people eat chicken with honey on it.
When I was a kid, I used to do that. I used to put honey
Hmm.
on my fried chicken.
Really?
Side
Huh.
note, my I remember we used to get it from the famous chicken fast food place. And we used to have this crispy chicken, and you'd have like maybe an option of like maybe 8 different sauces for
Mhm.
dipping, and I always got the honey.
Oh.
And so I would get the honey, and I remember sitting in the car. We were in a car trip somewhere. We were always eating in the car, it seemed like. And so I got trying to eat the chicken with the honey, and the honey got on the French fries that
Oh,
was in the box. And I was like, oh, that's weird. Well, let me taste it. And I was like, oh my God, this is
good.
delicious. And since then, I was probably like maybe 6 or 7 years old. Since then, to this day, I put honey on my French fries.
Really
Yes.
interesting. I mean, some people dip French fries in their milkshakes and or ice cream or something like that. And
Yeah. Again, I
uh,
can see that. The sweet and salty. Sure. Why not?
yes, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Sorry, I got off the breakfast topic, but
Well, no. I mean, honey is a big part of breakfast too, because a lot of
sure.
people
And
either
potatoes. Why
use
not?
jam or honey for.
Yeah, you can put honey on those biscuits too. That's
You
good.
could. Or
Yeah,
toast. Sometimes people like honey on their toast, or um,
it's very
I mean,
versatile.
instead of syrup, you could use honey too.
Sure, absolutely. I think a lot of
Mm.
people do on their pancakes and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, so I thought, like I said earlier, since I had a lot of people I was going to talk to today, I said I'm going to survey them and see what everybody eats for breakfast. So I thought I would share that. We'll start with my husband, who's from India. So I already kind of knew this. I didn't really have to survey him, but just
I mean, it's a good thing that you knew what he likes for breakfast.
I know they'd be like, do you know him? Yes, yes, I do. So they essentially have like a couple of, like everywhere else, there's a lot of common things, but 2 big ones are something called poha, which is a flattened rice, and it's dried, and then you kind of like reconstitute it with some water, drain it, and then you cook up some onions and chilies and spices, and maybe roast up some cashews or peanuts,
Yes.
and then you kind of cook up all that rice with the savory stuff, and then mix in your peanuts. So it's more like a drier thing. Then there's also something called upma, which is semolina, like we were talking about before, which is it's like a wheat. It's the one with this the part of the wheat with all the good protein.
Right.
Yeah, and so it's this kind of coarse ground semolina that again you kind of cook the same way with spices and veggies. You don't have to do this, but he makes like a sauce to go with it with yogurt and buttermilk and garlic, and it's really delicious.
Oh,
So that's one of
that
my
sounds delicious.
it is. It's one of the things I request when he's gonna make something. What do you
Breakfast.
want? Poha or he calls it suji, but yeah, definitely want that one.
Well, you brought up yogurt. I feel like yogurt is kind of a staple in a lot of breakfast, a
I
lot
think
of
so too.
pantries
Yeah,
too.
yeah, for sure.
Oh,
Our
oh.
yogurt is not that good here overall, but that's another story. I don't know. I guess I'm picky about a lot of things, but I don't like all our like low fat, low sugar, and then they put all this stuff in there, and it tastes fake. You can definitely get some good yogurt here, but it's not as common as some of the other things.
So it might be easier to just make your own.
I keep saying I'm going to do that, and I have not done it yet, but one day I'm going to do that. So, Italy is another. I talked to another person from Italy,
Mhm.
and they eat super light breakfasts.
Oh,
Yeah, I was kind of surprised. They eat
what is
pretty
it?
early in the morning,
Hmm.
like a small sweet, like a croissant or something like that. Maybe some coffee and cappuccino. And by the way, she's told me this before. They really laugh at Americans when they try to have cappuccino in the afternoon. They're like, no, 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 this is for breakfast only. This is morning only. Yes, you're not supposed to have cappuccino in the afternoon.
Really?
I know. I'm like, why? But
Why would
we
you
all
limit
have our
people?
things.
I know. I was
What?
like, why would you limit yourself to just have it in the morning?
Right? Because it's like coffee. I can drink coffee in the morning. I can drink coffee in the afternoon. I can drink coffee at night. Why not?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
interesting. Very interesting.
but that's it. Real quick, Germany.
Hmm.
They'll again like a bread, maybe butter, jam, might have like a little cheese or a piece of salami kind of thing,
Oh,
or
yum.
fruit. And as he's describing this to me, I'm like, oh, this is like a charcuterie. I don't know how to say that word board.
Yeah. Yes. It does sound, it does seem like that.
Yeah.
Oh,
He even said sometimes a pretzel. I'm like, oh, I don't hate that idea. I love pretzels.
that sounds
Yeah, I
good.
could totally see that. Yeah.
Mhm.
And then we've got Chile. Um, she told me about a very special bread they make called marraqueta, which is made fresh every morning in local bakeries. And apparently, this is a very important thing that there's bakeries everywhere, and they're making this bread basically all day long, and it's very famous and very delicious. It's a little bit of work to make, so she said she doesn't really make it. But
Okay.
it's soft and delicious and warm, from the straight from the oven.
I mean, I can, oh my
And you can
gosh.
make like a little sandwich out of it, mashed avocado or some cheese. Yeah, so all these things sound pretty nice.
Sounds
But again,
delicious.
much lighter than some of the things we do.
Right. Well, speaking about the avocado, do you like, I don't know if you know about this, that there's this new, well, it's not that new, but it's kind of newer. The popular breakfast is avocado toast now.
Yes.
Okay. And they always say that, a certain generation eats avocado
Yes.
toast and all that.
Right.
But that's actually a staple in Australia.
Oh, okay.
That's one of their traditional breakfasts, a toast, avocado spread, and maybe a fried egg on top of it.
Oh, this doesn't really sound that bad,
Yeah.
actually.
Oh, it's delicious. Have you had avocado toast with the egg on it?
Well, I don't know that I've ever had avocado on toast. I mean, it sounds like a good idea. Why not? But I tell you what, I'm going to
Amazing.
have to uh, sell some valuables before I buy avocados again because they are so expensive.
Are they crazy expensive now? I mean, they're not too bad here, but it's
Really?
more
Oh.
expensive than usual. But I don't know what's
It,
going on.
the worst part about this, I don't want to go off on a tangent about avocados, but it's fine. If they're expensive and you eat them and they're delicious, okay, I can deal with that. But
Hmm.
so often you will look at this avocado, looks perfectly good. You cut into it and it's black and rotten inside.
Oh,
And then you have to throw the whole thing away and you're like, there goes like $3. Bye.
oh no. I do like avocado in
I
my,
do too.
a lot of
Yeah.
things. Oh,
I was so mad.
but
The
that,
last bag I bought, I had to throw away 2 of them.
oh, yikes. Yikes.
Yeah.
So did you have any other students from other countries that you asked
Not
about breakfast?
today.
Okay.
Yeah, these are
So
just the ones I got today.
that's really cool. I mean, and it's really nice because you read about these things, but it's really nice to hear it from people who actually live there. And
Yeah.
but I also remember talking to some of the my former students, and a lot of the countries also have like their um, breakfast staple kind of is some sort of a pastry or bread. I feel like
Yeah. It
it's
does
in
feel
common.
common.
Yeah, and it could be like a different type of bread. Like you were talking about the little handmade like a bread
Oh,
they have in
yeah.
Chile, but like in Brazil, they have like this cornbread type cake that's breakfast style cake. And
Yeah.
then in I think in Argentina, they also have like a different pastries. They have like
Yeah.
different shapes and they're sweet. I know I
I'm
remember
here for it. Let me tell you,
I
I
know
am here
I'll
for
go
it.
had students from Venezuela, and like their breakfast staple is arepas, which is kind of like
Oh,
a
yeah.
flat, not too. It's like a cornbread, also like a corn flatbread with different
Mhm.
toppings on it.
Yeah, those are
Um,
good.
I feel like everybody knows that French people like their pastries for breakfast.
Oh, yes. Yes. Oh, I had some of the best bread in my life in France.
Really?
And the best butter. Oh my gosh, I think I told my butter story already, but man, that was good.
I know. Well, I think Portugal. Oh my gosh, how
Portugal?
did that happen? Portugal. They are famous for their little egg custard tarts. I think that's one of their breakfast
Hmm.
staples too.
Oh, I
It's
don't know
kind of like
about
a
that.
sweet, flaky, and then they have a little eggy custard on the inside. And I feel like I'm already drooling.
I know. Seriously, I don't know how I'm going to go to Zumba after this. Come on,
I
guys.
know. So, but I wanted to kind of share one of the best breakfasts I've had in my life is
Oh, I want to hear this.
so I spent 3 months in Uzbekistan. It's a small country in Middle Eastern country, and I was there as a student during my college. And we kind of had a little kind of exchange. We went to university there, and we lived in this little dorm, kind of hostel dorm. It was run by this couple, and they cooked breakfast for us. It was a homemade breakfast every morning,
Mm, I
but
love it.
it was most of the time it was kind of the same thing, but it was the best thing in the world. So they would bring a stack of this flat bread that's called non. It was freshly baked, and the way you eat it, you tear a piece and then you pass it along to the next person.
Mm.
Then they tear a piece, they pass it along. But it would be literally a stack of like 6 to 7 of them, and like
I was going to
several.
say, does everybody get it? Or at the end, you're like,
Oh
the
no,
last one in
they
the
had a
line.
lot. Right. It would always
Just
be there.
pass.
But it's this bread that's like soft and warm and just I don't know how to describe it, but it's absolutely divine. So and everybody gets these two little bowls. One of them would have fresh cream, not like whipped cream, but just like a
Yeah.
cream,
Hmm.
and homemade cherry preserves.
Oh,
So
sounds
you rip
amazing.
off that piece of bread and you dip it in the cream and the cherry preserves,
Oh,
and it was the best thing in the
man.
world, like the best way to start your day. So I still remember that, and I feel like anytime I think about it, I can still taste it.
Yeah, isn't that funny how that happens? Yeah.
So
Your
good.
memories like that.
But this other time I was in Ukraine, and I was there actually. It was one of the times when I already lived in the United States, but I went back, and I went back with a person from another company that they were doing fair there and all that. So I was helping as a translator. And we stayed at this hotel in Kiev, and they had every morning they had breakfast there, right? And talking about a breakfast buffet, I don't think I have ever seen anything like that before,
Mm.
because that buffet was endless and he had everything you could possibly imagine on it. I mean,
Sounds like a dream.
it had pastries, it had different meats and cold cuts, it had smoked salmon, it had fruits, it had, I mean, it spreads. It was just, I was like, I can just sit here all day and just eat this stuff.
Yeah. Oh,
So
man.
it was absolutely amazing.
Yes, I do love going to a good brunch, where you go like
Yes.
10 or 11, and just kind of take care of breakfast and lunch together and just have the whole spread. Love it.
Everything. Yeah. But in some cultures, I feel like, I think in Turkey, um, is the breakfast is kind of a this platter of these different smaller things.
Yeah,
Like
I like
they
that.
would have yogurt, they would have little olives, they would have little some sort of like a bread spread. They would have so you have this choice of things almost like that you would eat.
Yeah. I like things like that where you can have a little bite of this, a little bite of that, keep your
Right,
taste buds,
right, right.
confused. What's coming next? Okay, well, I think we have covered a lot of breakfast things for today, and made ourselves very hungry. But I hope everybody found this as interesting and yummy sounding as we did. Got some good ideas. Maybe we'll have to
Mhm.
link some pictures of some of this stuff because sometimes it's hard to really
Yeah,
imagine what grits are or some of these other things. So
that's
in the
true.
show notes, which by the way, everybody check the show notes so you can find some of the words, phrases, and maybe some other notes that we talked about in this episode. So I thought to wrap this up, I looked for a couple of idioms that are related to breakfast, or at least somehow related to breakfast. So I
Mhm.
thought that might be interesting to talk about. This isn't really an idiom, but this is something that came up, and I thought about continental breakfast. Whenever you go to a hotel,
You hear
you
that a lot.
always,
Yeah.
yeah, oh, continental breakfast. And I remember, like, especially when I was younger, I'd be like, what kind of continent is this? Because this doesn't look like a breakfast. I mean, it's you give me a bread and some juice and coffee. Oh, well, later on I realized other continents aren't as ridiculous as we are for the breakfast. So they're clearly talking about another continent
Right.
that eats a little better than we do,
Healthier and yeah.
or than I do anyway, I should say. But anyway, okay, so the idiom that I found that I haven't said in a while, but I do like it, is bring home the bacon.
Oh yeah.
I haven't heard that in a while, but yeah. So when you bring home the bacon, it's basically a way of talking about that you are talking about the money that you earn
Mhm.
from your job for your living. So
Right.
it's not a side hustle. It's not a little extra something. This is this is what
There's
you
another good vocabulary word there. You just use side hustle.
side hustle. Yeah, that's a good word. Side hustle. Yeah, no Uber driving side hustle kind of thing. No, this is
Right.
bringing home the bacon. Is you bring home the money from your job to pay your rent and all your expenses and stuff like that. So, as we talked about how Americans love their bacon, apparently bacon is very important.
Right.
Got to have that bacon. um,
Oh gosh.
okay, another one that I liked was wake up and smell the coffee.
Oh, but it's you know,
When it
it's funny that it is a phrase or idiom, but it's kind of the best thing to wake up to. Let's smell the coffee.
Yes, but the thing is, when you think about this, you're sleeping, you're dreaming, and maybe if you're so lucky to have someone else up before you and making coffee and breakfast for you, even before your mind is really awake, the smell comes to you, and you're like, and the smell of coffee brings you to reality of another day. May not be the greatest. You got to get up and go to work. Reality isn't always so good, but sometimes you got to wake up and smell the coffee.
Smell the coffee.
So that's
Yep.
what that means, that you need to accept and realize what is real, even though it may not be the best, most ideal situation.
Oh well.
Yes, but at least there's coffee.
Yes. There's always
Coffee makes it all better.
yes.
Let's see, one last one. Let's see. Oh no, there's two that I want to talk about. Have egg on your face. I chose that one
That's
because egg is a pretty typical breakfast food,
breakfast
but
food. Yeah, yeah. That's a good one.
yeah. So when you have egg on your face, it means you said or did something, and now you kind of look foolish because you made a mistake or it went wrong. Like I thought of say you were bragging about how well you did a particular sport, for example, and then you go and you do the thing and you're just completely, wiped out. You
Yeah.
do a terrible job and you look a little foolish because, you were kind of bragging about it. You have egg on your face.
That's a good one.
And the last one I have is when someone says, that a person could eat you for breakfast or you could eat someone for breakfast. It's a funny sounding idiom, but I like it um, because it basically means that when you're talking about maybe someone really tough or dangerous or a big bully, And, don't get too brave and, get in their face too much because they could eat you for breakfast. They're a lot tougher than you. They could hurt you.
Yep, they can eat you.
Eat you for breakfast.
I like that one too. Eat you for breakfast.
Yeah. So there's my breakfast idiom.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, well, this was awesome. Always nice talking to you and about the food, and I can't wait to go get some breakfast with you in a couple of weeks.
I'm looking
You do
forward
not
to
have
it
to
so
cook for
much.
me, honestly.
Oh, we'll be cooking together. I'll put you to work.
Okay.
Don't you worry about it.
Okay, as long as I'm working. All right. I don't want to, just show up and be fed. I'm not the cats here, I need to work for my food. Not like this lazy cat that's sitting next to me right now.
But they're cute.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. Well, I will talk to you next time with another topic. We will see you again, guys. Don't forget to check out the show notes. We'll have some links. We'll have some vocabulary. It's going to probably help with the conversation, and we will see you next time. But until next time, here's to good coffee, good vibes, and great conversations.
Cheers.
Cheers.